Whoa, hey, yo, hi guys. Hey, so we're going to get started now. I just wanted to kind of pop on and let everybody know this is going to be a very adult conversation. We're going to be talking, about some topics and about some people that have done some very, very nefarious things, some that have been proven in court and some that have not. So, but I wanted to have this conversation because I think it's very important considering what we're hearing about like TD Jakes and some other folks, right? And before their things get filed against those people and against more people that are to come, I think we have to have a really clear conversation about legally, but also energetically, why one may do the civil route rather than the criminal route. Does it help um, people that are victims? Is it really good for them? Is it honestly healthy for them? So I want to really have that conversation. So I'm just letting you know this is a trigger warning. I'm going to play my intro, let people come on in the room, and let folks know that we are having an adult conversation over here tonight. And I really do welcome everyone. So let me play this intro and then we're going to get started. Are you ready for some real thought provoking conversations that lead to spiritual wisdom and discovery to provide you with clear direction on every area of your life? Well, sit back and relax. You've made it to the right place. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to Heart of Inspiration. Hey, I'm back. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Let me just get over into, hey, Coach Leslie, how are you? Hello, EMC. I know you guys are filing in the room. So as you're filing in the room, you're welcome, pull up a chair, get yourself a little bit of whatever you want to drink. I am going to put this trigger warning across the bottom. Now, anything that is stated here outside of, uh, let's just say, court documentation, right? Because there really isn't, sorry, guys. Oh my God, that was disgusting. There really isn't a need, right, to say alleged when someone has um it's been proven in court either civilly or it's been proven in court, oh excuse me, criminally, that one has committed some sort of heinous act. Hey Debbie, how are you? So there really isn't a need to say alleged. I know everybody still says it, but honest to Pete, if it's in a court filing, I can't, what are you gonna do, right? But anything outside of that court filing or that court finding, then, I'll be sure, we'll all know that it's alleged. So I wanted to have this conversation tonight, and I'm not sure how many people are going to join us. I'm not sure how many people are going to, be ready and present for this, but we are going to, I'm going to upload a couple of files while we're doing this. And I want to kind of also give you guys a reason why I even decided to do this. I was watching The Lawyer You Know yesterday. And oh gosh, getting up for 8 a.m. Meditation really takes a lot of dedication. Can I just put that out there? Um, I was watching The Lawyer You Know the other day, yesterday, as a matter of fact. And The Lawyer You Know was discussing the Ruby Frankie, Jody Hildebrandt, saga. And what he was discussing was the fact that Kevin Frankie, the estranged husband of Ruby Frankie and father of all 6 of the Frankie kids, aka they're you guys know who I'm talking about, the YouTube channel, 8 Passengers. They're out in Utah. Evidently they had been, well, it's not even allegedly, because they both pled, both mother and this supposed life coach, family coach, um, pled guilty to multiple counts of harming children in very bad ways. Hildebrandt primarily had been housing two of the two youngest at her house, and was, having them basically work in the hot sun without water, without all these other things. They were blistered, handcuffing them, chaining them, all sorts of things, not feeding them, hog tying the boy. But he managed to escape to a neighbor's house, and the neighbor called, and the rest, as they say, is history. And now both of them, they're awaiting sentencing, which is going to happen in February. Kevin Franke had been estranged from his wife and his children, his four youngest children, for over a year, because this Hildebrandt woman said that they needed to separate in order to save the family. And also, this Hildebrandt woman was recommended to them by the Mormon Church. All of this has been in court documentation. We all know all of this. And Kevin Franke, so he hadn't seen his kids in over a year. And Kevin Franke filed for divorce. Ruby Franke pled guilty. Jody Hildebrandt pled guilty. So now, what's happened is that Kevin Franke, in criminal cases, you can file for restitution. Restitution is limited, though, in criminal cases. It's really about what, you know, losses you can show right now as a result of the crime committed. Losses you can show right now as a result of the crime committed. So I made a little slideshow of these offenders. I made a slideshow of the offenders that are on my thumbnail. Some of them you may know, some of you may not. But I'm going somewhere with this, guys, so just hang with me real quick. So this is Jody Hildebrandt. I chose not to show you one of the nicer pictures of her. I chose to show you one where this is at her sentencing here. I mean, her pleading hearing. The reason why I want to talk about this, though, tonight is so he files for restitution. You can only get so much in restitution, but the reasoning for him filing for restitution now, and they actually filed an ex parte order to keep her, Jody Hildebrandt, that I'm showing you here, from actually selling her $5.3 million home. We're going to go to the last, just so you know, this is the listing up on Zillow. Oops. This is the listing on Zillow. So you can see this home is up on sale for $5.3 million. Now, I am not sure. I mean, it looks like it's 5 beds, 6 baths. It's a huge house. I mean, it's a house. Don't get me wrong. It's a house. I'm not sure who's going to buy that house, though, because, if you knew that CA happened in that house, I don't know that I'd be buying it. But, to each their own. I can't tell you for sure, but I don't think I'd be buying the home. That's just too much. I don't think I could do that. But my point is that they did not want Jody Hildebrandt to be able to sell the house because they needed to make sure that any proceeds from that, I guess she's got 401ks and other things, like they basically said, freeze this woman's assets until we can figure out not only just the restitution, but we're all believing that at some point that the father, if he continues, I don't even know if he has custody right now. That's a whole nother situation. But that whomever is the guardian of these children, especially the younger two, We don't know about the younger four. We don't know who else she harmed. Wants to file for civil action. Now, why would one file for civil action? And what we're going to be doing is going through a number of people tonight that each have settled. Now, she isn't settled. There's been no civil action filed against her. But I wanted to bring her up first because this is where this is one of the more unique cases in all of the ones we're going to have here tonight, where the person has been found guilty or pled guilty to, excuse me, the criminal crimes, and then there will be a civil case thereafter. Now, why would you file a civil case if you've already gotten some form of restitution in the criminal case? Because remember, restitution replaces hard assets, money stolen, things of that nature. Restitution does not pay for lifetime um, therapy. Restitution does not pay for pain and suffering. There is no such thing. Like restitution in a criminal case only makes you whole to the point of any hard goods or monies that have, or policies, you know what I'm saying? Anything of finite value that this one can assign a value to. You don't get pain and suffering. In order to get pain and suffering, you have to file a civil case. Okay, a civil case in your state or federal civil case. But a civil case, in order to recoup all of those other things, in order for you to say there are soft damages, right? Like in the Maya case, Kowalski case, well, they, according to a preponderance of the evidence in a civil trial, it's a lower level of evidentiary proof that you must give to the jury or the judge. So Maya and her dad and her lawyers and her brother, right? They were able to prove by a preponderance of the evidence that Johns Hopkins had imprisoned Maya falsely for some time, that kept Maya away from her family, that they assisted or had a hand in her mother Beata unaliving herself, that there was great pain and suffering, all these different things they were able to prove beyond, with the preponderance of the evidence. That's different from beyond a reasonable doubt. In this case, Jody pled guilty to 4 counts out of the 6 she was charged with of CA, of harming children. So Kevin is the dad is has filed an ex parte order on, and it's been granted on behalf of his children. She can sell the house, but she won't get any of the proceeds. In fact, they stopped the sale of the house for right now and froze all assets. And that will then come to bear later on when, you can get medical bills and things like that in restitution, but you can't get anything else. So that'll come later on in the civil trial, where hopefully, and they alluded to this in the filing, that that these children will have a lifetime. They'll need a lifetime worth of help, right? So that's one. Now, again, I want us to start looking at some of the things. We're gonna now look at Diddy, okay? And this is in no particular order. Probably, I tried to do it most recent to way back in the past. I probably got a couple out of order. But Diddy and Cassie, right? Cassie files her lawsuit. Cassie says, I'm going to the mattresses. And Diddy's like, hey, hold on, pimp. Like you literally put me out on Front Street. She never even made it to trial and she settled. Some say for 20 million, some say 30 million, some say 50 million. Who knows? It was enough. At first, I'm not going to lie, I was like, man, I'm disappointed. But why would one settle, right? So civilly, you can go for the moon, right? If it's a federal civil trial, you have to say and damages or whatever at least valued at $75,000, and um and then in compensatory or oh god, what do they call it? Anyway, in the penalty portion, right, where you can get basically don't ever do this again, right? The pain and suffering portion, that's where you can really get into the millions and millions. Like you can say that all of this other stuff cost me millions of dollars in damages, lost wages, inability to work, medical bills, therapy, blah, 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 blah. But then there's that other portion of a civil trial where it's basically like the punishment phase. So instead of sending you to jail, they punish you by taking your money. So he avoided all of that by going through the settlement. Now, energetically, what does that do for Cassie? Oh, I don't know, Cassie. Hey, Pandered Infinity, how are you, beloved? Nice to see you. Thank you, everybody, for when you're coming in. Please hit the like and the button if you haven't already subscribed. Please do subscribe. We are on the road to 10,000, so 10K. So we every little bit helps. Every one of you helps, and I appreciate every last one of you. In this case, though, guys, right? In this case, what could this have done for Cassie? If we remember that money is energy. Hey, Joyce, greetings. If we remember that money is energy and your level of pain that you have felt, while it can never be erased by money, does it seem plausible that receiving that money in payment for pain is really an energetic exchange almost? That you can finally take your power back, and then in the compensatory and the, oh my gosh. Now I gotta know, what is it called in civil judgments when they find for pain and suffering? Special damages. Okay, let's try this. What are the types of damages, right? Types of awards in a civil case. Compensatory, they're punitive. Compensatory, nominal, punitive is what I was looking for. So in the punitive damage portion of of any type of civil trial, that's where you tend to see like 10, 20, 30, 40 million dollars. And the purpose of the punitive damages is to, yes, punish the defendant, right, that's now lost the case, but it's also meant as a deterrent, aka punishment, just like being sentenced to prison for people that are found guilty in criminal court. The punitive damages hopefully will deter anyone else in this same sector from doing the same thing or something very similar to anyone else. Okay, that's why they have punitive damages. Now, in Cassie's case, do we think that it's fair that Diddy paid her? Some people might say yes, some people say no. You guys can tell me in the chat. What do you think? Yes or no? Was it fair? Was that right? Should she have gotten paid? And you're more than welcome to have whatever your opinion is. That's fine. I don't care. Right? But the reason why that people, will do civil cases, one of the reasons why is it may have been too long, and now actually fighting and winning a criminal case is almost virtually impossible because there's no longer physical evidence enough for beyond a reasonable doubt. But there may be enough for a preponderance of the evidence, or 51%. I do agree that the lawsuits are right, but I agree that in a lot of these cases, these men and or these women, we just got done talking about Jody Hildebrandt, you don't have to retract your statement. I agree with you. However, the problem is if it's too long gone, if there's not enough to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, that means any reasonable person could doubt that this individual committed the crime that they're accused of. Then does it then we see that's when a preponderance of the evidence makes sense. And I want to say something else too. I want to say something else. Understand that just because people don't file criminal suits, that doesn't criminal cases, criminal complaints, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen to them. And I think that we're having and also doesn't mean it's automatically a money grab. So again, um it is difficult. This is a difficult thing. We have to remember, though, when we're talking about is it right? Is it fair? Does it make sense? Why would people get civil suits, civil settlements? And does it actually energetically help the individual? I feel in a way there's a satisfaction with somebody getting put in prison. There's another satisfaction though when an extremely rich person and an extremely powerful person has to part with their money and their prestige. That is a tearing down of them energetically. And if you're working with the right people, then you're able to receive this transference of wealth, this transference of energy, this transference of their power. When it's their money, they're separating themselves from one aspect of their power. You've separated it from them. It's not going to heal you. It's not going to make you feel a ton, right? It's not going to heal you. But that energetic exchange can be utilized along with, you know, um, oh my God, therapy and energy work and other things to help ease things and help you get through it. Some of the women may have waited too long, Joyce. And this is one other thing as we kind of go through this. I also want us to, the reason why I have on here, be kind to yourself and to others. I want us to think about it if we were the person that was being horribly hurt by someone in a lot of power that literally probably held the power of life or death almost in some cases over us, or it felt like they did. And in some cases, I feel like they did. How easy would it be for you to come out and say something? How much courage would it take? And I can tell you, coming from a household where my mother was abused, where there were children in the home abused, where, my aunts, my grandmothers, like, there's just this really odd, I didn't realize the cats had made my camera crooked. Sorry, gang. It's just really odd, right? It takes a lot to open up. Okay, especially because if they're powerful people, then usually the police or whatever, everybody looks the other way. This climate has not been like this. This energy has not been like this, I think, ever. So, where people are believed. Here we go. Now we're going from we started off with Jody Hildebrandt. She harmed minors. Diddy harmed, as far as we know, adults. Now we get to Bishop Eddie Long. Minors. He settled with the four men that came forward and is for, as they will say, accusers. I say victims and survivors. Let's put it that way. Um, and shout out to Mims, Make It Make Sense. He just had an interview just a couple days ago, I think, with one of Eddie Long's survivors. And that young man said he's never went and got like any therapy or anything like that. Um, I think for me, really gets hard, especially when we're talking about settlements for minors. First of all, those settlements need to be put in trust funds so that they're protected um, from everybody, and that it really goes to the child. But the second thing is the hard thing with a minor, that mind that you have just snapped, it's going to take a lifetime to come back, and it might not. This will be a lifetime of pain that you've caused. And with the minor, while we as the adult understand that minor is going to need to be provided for, and there's going to need to be counseling and all sorts of things for the rest of their lives, they don't necessarily get that. They don't. And because they don't get that, sometimes I wonder how much it helps. Like, I know that we should do it for them, but sometimes I wonder, is there anyone trying to explain to them, hey, sweetie, something. This is what we're doing so that we can take care of you in the future. I also want you to understand that when these people do this to minors, they're also setting in motion potentially some things where that minor may or may not, like they may or may not be able to, how can I put this? Do you know how there's some people that harm others that we find out then they were harmed as children? And then what do we say typically? What do we say typically? We say, well, they should have got over it. No, I think that we need to begin to look at how adults get to the place where they harm minors or harm others. I'm not excusing it, but I am saying is that when the cycle continues, if the cycle is allowed to continue, then the cycle is allowed to continue in some cases. It's not hard for me to understand how a child who was harmed can then grow to be an adult that harms. It is, and I think that's because I grew up in a domestic, a DV household, right? I grew up in a DV household. So there are things that I know my brothers, I'm not saying none of them to my knowledge have ever committed that act, but there probably are things with them. Hold on, guys. Baby, I can't. There's a lot of things that's Gemini. For those of you who do not know, Gemini, my cat. There are a lot of things that they do that I think are as a result of, or um, sometimes there's not as much respect. Sometimes, like for my mom, I don't think they mean to. And then not all my brothers do, any of them see this. But I just think that sometimes it happens. I can speak for myself that sometimes it happens on my end. So there's different things that can happen all the way up to actually committing the same acts that were committed upon you. And it's not that you feel like, it's not that you wanted to do it, right? But something you break, there's something that can break, and unless it's, repaired, then that's a problem. Now, again, energetically, if we look at, we're taking a form of a portion of a place that these people derive their power from and giving it back to the victim, then, right, we are able to if we can formulate that energetically, and all my energy workers out here and healers, shamans, all of you all, I want you to really think about, maybe if you have clients that have received these types of settlements or things like that, or even people that have gone to prison as a result of what they did. I would be very interested to hear from you guys. Leave it in the comments, my fellow healers and shamans and such. If you have found a way, or if you've even thought of grabbing that energy and transmuting it as we're helping our clients with this, because that to me is a really, really interesting concept. I think that we as healers should probably look into. Jerry Sandusky. So I'm going through all of these. Do you guys remember him? He was the Penn State college coach, college football coach. And if I remember correctly, it was teenage boys over, I mean, decades. Let me look. The world was shocked when the news of Penn State coach Jerry Sandusky's of students and athletes, so it was athletes as well, broke. In 2013, the university announced it had reached settlement agreements with 26 of his victims. Reports of the SA first came to light in 2011 and outlined a consistent pattern of CA, child harming, and using his position to gain leverage over his victims. All told, the university agreed to pay a total of $59.7 million to the victims. On top of the civil cases, the NCAA fined Penn State $60 million and issued a 4-year ban on bowl games for its football program. Renowned coach Joe Paterno, that's right, Sandusky was an assistant to Joe Paterno, resigned and passed away shortly thereafter. It was reported that Paterno had been briefed on the allegations but did not take action. Sometime go back and look. Now it's all coming back to me. I remember hearing this whole thing. So $59.7 million to 26 victims. That's not even 2 million a victim. I just feel like that was not enough. But again, now some of these were teenage athletes that came in for, if I remember correctly, this would be alleged and I don't remember for sure. But I feel like some of them came in for like summer camps, and it was just, some of them were young men, adults 18 and over. That's Jerry Sandusky. Some of you may not know is that as a result of some cases, there were settlements that some of Epstein's survivors received upon his passing. There's still civil cases going on, as a matter of fact, but Epstein's estate has thus far paid. That's weird. Paid more than 121. It's a AAA call. Why would AAA be calling me at 9:00 at night? Paid more than $121 million to over 135 people. The number of claimants is hard to believe, but it indicates the scale of Epstein's operation. The payments come as a surprise considering his estate, valued at over $600 million at his death, is largely placed in trusts. However, legal experts express surprise at how fast the court system is moving to get money to victims. This is really strange. So, and that's still ongoing. It's not even done yet. Okay. Again, he passed away, or they say unalived himself, before anyone could really, I have no idea who that is. It's so weird. Why are you calling me at like 9 o'clock at night? Just strange. Um, but these survivors are still literally getting paid. Let's see. How many more do we want to go through? Um, Dr. Larry Nasser. He is the Olympic women's Olympic gymnastic doctor. Do you guys remember when all those gymnasts came forward and said that they had been essayed by this man? Michigan State University. He was also, at the university. Olympians, college athletes, and young Olympic hopefuls saw him for treatment over several years. Once the claims of essay started to appear, however, scores of Nassar's victims came forward. As of now, there are more than 300 reported victims. In the wake of the allegations, Michigan State University agreed to pay $500 million settlement, with more than 300 victims. This settlement is one of the largest in U.S. history. In response to the case, U.S. Gymnastics made drastic changes in their policies regarding um, SA and suspicions of SA and reporting procedures. And he's serving a life sentence. Now, what I find interesting, except for in the case, well, thus far, except for in the case of Hildebrandt, have you noticed that? And I know Sandusky was sentenced. I think I don't know if he's even still alive. I have no idea. Um, that it's interesting that institutions paid and not the person. So again, I know this might seem a little tedious and a little boring, but the reason why I'm bringing up all these different cases and all these different people is because I want you to see that this does not look any specific kind of way. And before we just like throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say, before we just toss everything to the side and say, well, they didn't come out correctly. We don't like the rollout. We don't like how the statements that are being made. We don't like any of that. We don't like the rollout. So before we just simply say we don't like the rollout and then we throw it all away, or we don't like the person, or we don't like the fact that it's young men, we don't like the fact that it's young black men, we don't like the fact that it's black preachers, we don't like the fact that it's black women or white women or this, that, or the other. Before any of that, we need to really sense what the energetic exchange is. Did this person have a level of power over the other one? Is it plausible that this person that is in power in some way, shape, form, or fashion would have utilized that power to satisfy their perversions and predilections? Is that even possible? Because every last one of these people are human, and they were all in positions of power and looked up to in a lot of ways. One of the most notable in our recent history has been Bill Cosby. What is very interesting is that Bill Cosby settled with his accusers decades ago. Now, again, I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent, but he settled with his folks decades ago. And a lot of the behaviors that was going on then was kind of standard operating procedure. So he settles decades ago. Somebody in a new DA office now says, oh, you should have been convicted, right? And then, but that's why it got overturned, because he never would have said everything that he said in the civil case openly in open court, because you cannot force anybody to disregard their Fifth Amendment rights. And you have a right to not say anything on the stand or to a officer of the law that would incriminate yourself. You have the right against self incrimination. Do you guys know why we have that? It's because back in England, they would basically force you to self snitch and lie and say that you committed a crime that you did not commit. They would threaten to kill your family. They would threaten to do whatever if you did not basically say you committed this crime. So that's why that amendment is in here. My point is that, again, in these women's case, they decided it wasn't enough and they came back at him. It is what it is. I'm still shocked, though, that they were able to get a conviction. And I think the only reason they were able to get a conviction is because he had confessed to a lot of things in his civil suit. Because he didn't think that they were ever going to, he had been told they were not ever going to prosecute him because there wasn't physical evidence. Okay. Roger Ailes, I don't know if y'all know who Roger Ailes is. Roger Ailes was the CEO, I believe, of Fox News. And Greta, what is Greta's last name? Because she's from Wisconsin, as a matter of fact. Really sad. Gretchen Carlson filed a SH lawsuit against him in 2017. So Roger Ailes was a prominent media executive in the United States. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2017 before he could face charges from other victims. The year before he passed, however, a former Fox News broadcaster named Gretchen Carlson filed an SH lawsuit against him. In a settlement, Fox paid Carlson, because remember, well, no, this is before he passed. So once again, the institution is paying for the person. When they paid a reported $20 million and issued a rare public apology and statement praising her tenure at the station. After Carlson reported the harassment, several other women came forward with similar claims. News reports state that Fox settled other harassment and SA claims without specifying settlement amounts. It's reported that Fox has paid out millions to the other women who were victimized. Now, why do I find this interesting that with him, with Sandusky, with the doctor, Nassar, the institution paid? Is that the energetic exchange we're looking for? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't, it again, that energy then is coming from the institution. Now, if the institution did nothing to help me and I reported it before, or it was just one of those well known facts and the institution did nothing about it, there's some satisfaction there. Energetically, though, that's a little bit harder for me to connect energetically if I were the one that was the survivor. I'm receiving it from, but I'm not receiving it from the person. Epstein's estate is different. I'm still receiving it from Epstein's estate. So energetically, does that help? Energetically, does it help? Because they really did dog Gretchen out when she left. So I suppose the institution allowing this man to do whatever, I suppose so. But do you see where that can get a little weird and wonky and whether or not it's really clearing anything? I think still the point is when you can separate powerful figures and people, individuals, or corporations that hold and wield a lot of power, because let's be real, they do. Media, and not just Fox News. I mean, let's not sit here and act like, Chris Cuomo wasn't right. Let's not sit here and act like, what's that man's name that was on the Zooms and was pleasuring himself? You know what I'm saying? So Don't act like it's just Fox News, because I done heard all over media. They're all the same. So stop it. They're all the same. It's just two sides of the same coin. They are. Everybody's selling you. Let me shut up. My point being is this: when the powerful entity, right, separates from some of its money that is part of its power base, then it's still the transference of power, and it's still the transference of energy that then can be transmuted to help in the healing process. How many sides do I have? Oh, I think, is that it? No, one more. Oh boy, here we go. And I, Harvey Weinstein. And I'm going to tell you why I put Harvey last. This was one of the worst. Why? Because this man, for decade after decade after decade, had young women and some, what we hear, young men, basically delivered to him by others, and in a present day and age was still running a casting couch. And for very prominent women and men in Hollywood to just kind of either look the other way or, like I said, hand deliver these people to him on a silver platter. Now, to my knowledge, all of his survivors are adult, are grown, but it certainly wasn't consensual. In 2019, the Washington Post reported that Weinstein reached a settlement agreement with SA and SH victims totaling $47 million. Over 30 women claimed Weinstein either SH'd them or engaged in other forms of SA. According to the settlement terms, Weinstein did not have to admit to any wrongdoing. Still, the announcement is a significant milestone and a very public affair for over 7 years. He was convicted in New York in February 2020 for SA and R and was sentenced to 23 years in prison. He lost his appeal. He is now slated to face trial over charges. I think he did face these. I don't know what happened to those. This article I'm reading from was written a while ago. So then he faced trial in California for R and SA. 4 counts of R, 7 counts of other types of SA. And there's still dozens of civil suits being filed by the accusers. Weinstein's maltreatment became the tipping point for what is now known as the Me Too movement in America. So my point to this man here, I'll probably about single-handedly changed the face of, or started the change to the face of how we deal with survivors. But I want you to remember, hey Jen, how are you, sweetie? I want you to remember that the reason why I'm even having this conversation is these are all very different types of people. These are all very different types of cases. These are all very different types of situations. But the bottom line is that there is somebody that is in a position of power in some way, shape, form, or fashion over one's livelihood, over one's career, over whether someone becomes famous, and sometimes over their literal lives because of how much power that they have and how much control was given to them by the other party. And so it might be a very uncomfortable truth to hear when people come out and say, and they don't say it all pretty, and they don't have video, and they're not going to have, the Monica Lewinsky dress, and they're not going to, right? They're not going to have, in some cases, they don't have our kits. In some, in other cases, they never went, right? Because they were too ashamed. Now, I'm not saying everybody is telling the absolute truth But I think that we have to take what's being said, especially if you can discern that some of the details or read in between the lines a little bit and pick up on whether or not what is this person really going to gain by doing this? That was one of my hard things with Christian Keys. Like, I really did want to believe him. And to a great degree, I do believe that something has happened to him. I really do. The question of who, and the question of when, the question, you know what I'm saying? Like, did he take the money? Because he's certainly super silent. Is that what this was all about? So then why do they take the money? I'm going to just touch on this, and then I'm going to, because this comes up quite a bit. A lot of times they'll take the money because they don't have the money to fight this person in court. Remember, they're going up against someone who is powerful. Excuse me. And can afford, I'm doing well, Jen. They're powerful. They can afford to drag this through court for years and years. These civil lawsuits can take years to even get before they even get in front of a judge and a jury. And most people in these cases, in these situations, don't have that kind of money. So since they don't have that kind of money, they're very willing to settle because they might not be able to pay their lawyer. And I know we want these people, if they did this, to go to prison. But before then, but usually, like we said before, in a lot of cases, there's not enough to get beyond a reasonable doubt. But there would be enough, or the statute of limitations is done. It's a tough scene. Hey, Smooth Art Design Lab, how are you? I thought Christian Keys had been playing the game, and someone told him no. And this was a way to send a message to the person he wanted something from. It sure feels that way now, doesn't it? It sure feels that way now. I don't think at the time I thought it was a game. And that's probably because I've heard so many rumors about the person he was talking about. At least one of the people he was talking about. I had heard a lot of rumors. So it was like I'm not going to be shocked. And rather than throw it away immediately, I wanted to believe him. At least give him the benefit of the doubt. We still don't know if he took money. We still don't know. We now know about the court case with him and Tyler Perry, but we just don't know. I think you're right. Unfortunately, I always, I'm like, I want to believe the best in everybody. Oh, um, it's terrible. I knew, yes, there were rumors about him as well. However, all I'm going to say is if I'm looking at a power inequity, Christian Keys doesn't have the power. I mean, that's honest. Was it Kat that just said, like, none of Tyler's actors have ever been like, they're not that well known. They can still go to the grocery store. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't need security. So I still felt that there was a great power inequity. But again, I wanted to believe him. And then when things like that come out and happen, then it makes it harder for people to believe, like Prophet Manasseh Jordan. Some of the other young men that are going to come out and say things and file suit. It makes it more difficult. It makes it more difficult to, even though You know what's interesting? Even though we'll look at things, we'll look at like Usher right now, or we'll look at Justin Bieber, or we'll look at certain other people, and I think that we would believe it from them. We're very fickle as a public on who we pick and choose, who we believe. Yes, I knew that there were rumors that that's how he rolled. But the question is, did he become that? Well, I knew there were rumors about that's how he rolled. I know. However, the pain in that man's face in that video said to me that there probably is something there. I guess I may have been wrong. But just knowing how things are done in these arenas, it just doesn't surprise. It wouldn't have surprised me. Let me put it that way. If anything had been proven out, it wouldn't have surprised me. It wouldn't have shocked me. I think I would be. I think I'd be less upset about that than I would about the ministers, unless it was children. I would still be upset, but I'm just saying. So anyway, we're not gonna stay on much longer here because I would like to stay on for I'm trying to keep things to an hour. Yep, that's what he played on. People suspecting foul play. He played on the fact that we just came off of Cassie, right? We're just like, oh my gosh, And this is the season for exposure. So he did it in the right timing. It's just a shame. All right, guys. I hope I wanted to bring these different cases, these different scenarios, so that you could see this as not a neat package and that settlements are done in different cases for different reasons. But for me, it is the energetic exchange where we can begin to bring some equity and balance because the parties or the institutions, the institutions that turn blind eyes and the parties that do these things and elicit this pain and inflict this pain, a big part of their power is their money. And when you separate a powerful person from their money, it really hits them. And that is a big energetic exchange. All right, guys. I hope I know this is a really heavy subject to kind of talk about on the full moon, but it was on my heart and I really felt it was necessary to chat about it. Please don't forget to hit like and share, and please hit subscribe. We'll be coming back to you with some more conversation, maybe some card pulling. Maybe we'll do some astrological reads. I'm not sure what I want to do this weekend, but I'd like to do something fun with you guys and so that we can have a good time. If you want to schedule a reading with me, all that information is in the description box down there below. Also, if you want to schedule a time to talk to me about your business ideas, if you are a healer, teacher, coach, mentor, if you are a transformational leader and you're ready to step out into purpose, then I want to talk to you. Please do not hesitate to book a 15-minute call. That's down there in the box below as well. Peace, love, blessings, and joy be unto you today, tomorrow, and for all eternity. I love you so very much. Namaste. Bye, guys.